Tippy tie my damies, and welcome to episode 52. Yes, 52. Just trucking along. 52 of Reviewedly Interrupted with me, your host, Pootie Tang. That's me on the shirt. My face is on the shirt. That's weird. This episode, Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer. And I've had it for years. It was a nice little like 2-disc DVD collector's dealio. But then I saw that Arrow release this little set. Now I just got the Blu-ray. I know that there's also a 4K version of this. I don't even own 4K yet. And I'm not really too worried about it. That's like down the road if I feel like being like, you know what? Because I haven't really seen I can see the difference between DVD and a good transfer onto Blu-ray. I haven't seen any like 4K yet to see if it's like, oh my God, dude, that just like actually really kind of bumps it up to this little, like at least one more level or anything. I don't know yet. I do own some 4Ks because it came in a Blu-ray and 4K set, like the Evil Dead Groovy collection over there and everything. But it's like I'm not too worried about 4K yet. It'll probably be like certain movies. But when I get 4K, I might get more into like specific movies, wanting to get specific movies on 4K because I'm like, dude, this is probably gonna look sick. You know, like Texas Chainsaw Massacre from DVD to Blu-ray looks amazing. Like if 4K really is a step up, I'm sure that fucking the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre looks beautiful. But let's talk about the physical media of the Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer Arrow release. We'll start with this. You know, it's got, of course, the reversible cover art. Here, let me take this out here and then you can kind of see. Stuff doesn't want to come out, man. So yeah, you can see it's like obviously reversible. I might actually flip it around to the other one. I'm not sure if I flipped it yet. I usually flip them because I usually go with the other cover art. But what's this? Oh, a little thing from Arrow saying like, hey, come check out our shit. And then lovely additions that they add to some stuff like stills from the movie and little like lobby card form and shit like that. Just like little neat collectible BS for collectors like me and everything. As you can see, just the 2-disc set, you know, there's the features and some extras, and then a whole bonus disc of extras, which is gonna be a fun to look at. And what's some of the other neat little shit that came in here? There's like a whole just like book, you know, just about production, different stuff, just different stuff in here about the movie, and talks about the restoration, Henry Lee Lucas, the serial killer himself, all that stuff. It's just a neat little extra booklet there. Here's original storyboards, a little booklet of original storyboards. It's kind of neat. It's like Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer in cartoon form, which is pretty wild. And then look at that, a nice size poster that's two-sided. There's the new Arrow artwork, and then of course that classic psychotic fucking one of him looking in the mirror and all the crazy shit he's seeing, which is like pretty sick artwork for the dealio. And it's like, I picked this up a while ago and I haven't watched it yet because I've been waiting. I don't know, I've just been anticipating. I'm like, oh, because I kind of wanted to review it, but it's like, I also can't wait to see this thing in Blu-ray, you know, seeing it in high def. Like I said, I noticed a quality difference with Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So I'm sure it'll be like the same with this. It doesn't ruin the film. It just kind of does this weird thing where it kind of brightens it up. You know, like you get a little more clarity in it, but it's still got the look of the time, which is pretty sick. So yeah, I mean, this is a pretty sweet addition. If you're a 4K person, they also have it on 4K, but it's a Region B, just so you know. If you don't have an all regions player, you're basically buying this to look at it. You know, it's like shit like this is why you know, because Arrow has a lot of Region B stuff. and it opens up the door to being able to collect a lot more stuff, not just to have it, but also to watch it and enjoy it. Speaking of which, I'm gonna go watch Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer for about the 30th time, because this movie is just so dark and so bleak, and there's just something about it where every once in a while you just got to go like, wow, that was dark. This is one of those movies, and it's become infamous, and it's great. So yeah, I'll be back in a little bit, and then I'll yap about the movie. All right, Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer. This movie never fails to get to me. Just in the way that it's like, wow, it's such a downer. It starts off being a downer and never really livens up to be like, oh yeah. No, because there's no protagonist. There's no real protagonist in this movie at all. Generally, movies, whether it's like a horror movie, there's usually the antagonist, the killer, blah, blah, blah. And then the protagonist, the cop that's chasing him down, the survivor girl lady, the triumphant hero that's going to save the day and save the girl, you know? And there's none of that in here. It's just straight up a downer of a movie. But like, you know, even how it starts off, like when we're first, like, before I even talk about the movie, let's talk about like some other aspects of this movie really quick. First of all, Michael Rooker in like his first film, you know, like I love how like the actors that are brought in, they're not like these well-known actors that everybody's like, oh man, that guy was in blah, 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 blah. Oh, let's watch this movie. No, Michael Rooker, Tom Towles, they're all just like noobs to this whole fucking thing. And like, they're in this movie that is just bleak, stark. I mean, even the fucking music is just like unsettling and creepy and everything. You know, it's not like any like there's a couple moments where you see like our antagonist like partying after murdering a guy, you know, and so it's like so you don't really feel like uplifting because it's like the score itself, there's no real score underneath like they're dancing around. So it's like they're listening to music on the radio and they're dancing around and everything. So it's like, but then the score comes in and the score is just like, I'm going to vomit darkness into your ears, you know? And I thought it was great that it was just like these actors, like Michael Rooker, you know, his fucking shit took off. And Tom Towles is like, if you're a horror fan, Tom Towles will always be in your heart. R.I.P. Tommy T. R.I.P. You know, I mean, he's been in so many great horror movies. I mean, he played such a great character in the remake of Night of the Living Dead, Tom Savini's remake. He played such an asshole and he did it so well. And then in House of a Thousand Corpses, when he pops in as the cop, he's a really good, like, strong cop character even. But like as Otis, aka Otis Toole, like, I'm not even going to get into a lot of the reality compared to the movie. Yeah, you might be thinking like, oh, this is going to be one of those reviews of the movie where it's probably going to spend, like, the guy's probably going to spend a lot of time talking about the differences between the realities and the fictionalities. And somebody else can do that because it's probably already been done 10 to 1. There's like 10 other fucking videos out there talking about the differences. Hell, even in some of these special features, I'm sure they talk about the differences. And if you're at all familiar, because it's like, I know on the DVD, I haven't watched any of the special features. Like, I'll go over the special features, like, when I get to the special feature part. There was a documentary on the real life serial killer Henry Lee Lucas that this was based on. And if you've seen the special features, if you've seen documentaries, you've seen the movie and and some documentaries, you know that there was quite a lot of liberty brought to the screen when it came to this movie. There was some differences. I'll talk about one specific scene when I get to the special features, because there's one specific scene that is like, I'm kind of glad they cut just for like the pacing of the movie. Honestly, it's really the pacing, but it adds more of a real detail to the relationship between Otis and Henry. But I'm glad they just kind of like, let that go. But pretty faithful to a point. To a point. But like, back to the movie. It starts off. You got the score, which is just this haunting fucking score, and it's scenes interposed with Henry doing normal everyday shit like a regular old Joe, and then it'll cut to a scene of a murder or multiple murders he's committed in some place. Brutal fucking murders, varied murders, different places, bodies left here, bodies left there, and everything, just cutting back and forth, cutting back and forth. And it's just kind of like, okay, and then you see the guy, and you see Michael Rooker, and he's got this face that just says like, I fucking dare you, bro. I fucking dare you. That's Michael Rooker. That's just his face, dude. From what I've heard, he is absolutely one of the nicest fucking fellows you could ever meet. But he's just got that face that if you throw him in a part, he can play a mean motherfucker. Just with his face, you don't even have to give him any fucking lines. Just be like, look mean and angry and violent under the surface. And they're like, great. And he's like, well, I haven't done it yet. That's just his face. That's just his face. Water. But and I love how it starts off like that. So immediately there's no, okay, you strapped yourself into the roller coaster. It's moving forward. It's going up. It's going up. Okay. Yeah. And you see the top and you're like, oh, when I get up there, it's going to be on like Donkey Kong. No, this movie starts off at the top of the roller coaster where it's like, okay, John McNaughton film, vroom, murder, death, horrible shit, and it's been like very notorious. Well, I wouldn't say notorious, more just infamous as being one of those movies that's stood the test of time of being like a fucking brutal movie. And it is. It's like very grindhouse, very dark, very gritty. And it's like, I've watched it more than once just because it's one of those movies where I've been watching the Leprechaun movies, and those Leprechaun movies are goofy as shit, and you kind of walk out going, ha, that was fun. This movie is not that. And then, maybe it's because I'm bipolar, but it's like, I want to go like, haha, yeah, that was fun. And then be like, okay, now I want to watch something that's not fun. It's entertaining just for the fact that it's like such a fucking downer. Henry is definitely one of those movies for that. Yeah. And so, and then we get introduced to the characters, I think even before we get introduced to, we're just going to call him Otis because it's Otis in the movie. I guess the name in real life was Otis, which is a weird name, Ottis. I don't know. He looked pretty backwoodsy, and his relatives are probably pretty backwoodsy and shit. So there's that. Otis, before we even meet Otis, we meet his sister, which all of a sudden she's thrown into like this big fucking part where it almost plays like she's going to be the protagonist, because it's like the lady love interest. So it's like, oh, all right, she's going to be the one to rein Henry in. She's going to be like, Henry, you need to stop doing these foul, evil fucking things, man. And he's going to find love, and he's going to throw his whole dark side of life, murder, killing everybody just cause, away, and he's going to run off into a verdant, bright field of daisies with her, and butterflies and rays of sun shining down, and happiness. No! A nice little subtle red herring right there at the beginning too. And it's like, I get like, I want to kind of go along with the movie, but it's like, there's certain parts that really jumped out at me, like especially this time, just like really paying attention to it, because I'm like, okay, you're not just watching it for fun and being entertained. It's like you're gonna go yap about this to motherfuckers on a video. They like, if they're gonna watch it, they want to hear your insights. Maybe, I don't fucking know. I can't read your mind. I can't. I tried. I got nothing. Maybe just the lights are on and nobody's home. If you made it this far into this video, that could very possibly be the truth. But I don't know. I'll get into that character a little bit more a little bit later. So we're introducing them, and we're introduced to Otis, and you see Otis is just kind of like the first scene you get a little taste of like his personality, but not much. You know, he's just kind of like, okay, he's there his sister. He's kind of like, you know, he's the brother. He's kind of a dick, but he's like, all right, I'll help you out. And it's like, all right. And then Henry is introduced into the mix in this household, you know, coming to meet up with his friend. And that's when the characters really start to develop. We start to get a little more into them. Like Henry, when there's the scene when it's about his him killing his mom, right? It's like Otis is like, dude, he told me he beat her to death with a baseball bat. And then he tells the chick, oh, no, he's got it wrong. I stabbed her. And then he tells a story about, like, he starts talking about the horrible, horrible things that his mother did to him. Made him watch and all this other kind of shit. And then he says, so I shot her. And she's like, wait, I thought you said you stabbed her. Yeah, that's right. You know, just like how it's like, you can tell right there that anything that probably comes out of this motherfucker's mouth is not the truth. You're not going to be able to tell where the truth is because he's a true fucking sociopath. You know, it's like 3 different fucking versions of how his mom died by his hand. Yeah, so it's just like you can see that this guy is you see him commit murders. You know he committed murders even before you see him commit murders, but you get that. Yeah, this guy is. There is no part of this guy that is good. There's no redeemable part within this person. This person, just, the truth is whatever it needs to be at that time. You know, one of those type of people. And it's just like, whoa, all right. And, you know, his first murders that he commits with Otis, like where they pick up the hookers and he kills them. And he's like, dude, whatever. You know, let's go get something to eat. You know, it's nothing to him. Otis is shook. That's... Okay, I will say that's one thing that's like definitely a creative aspect for the movie and not real life. You know, and then with the more character development, the more we get to see that Otis is he's just a piece of shit. You know, he's on parole. I mean, he's got hooked up with the job. You can see that the parole dude, his parole officer, is just overwhelmed with work and life and everything. He's just like, yeah, whatever. So everything's cool. All right. And then you keep your nose clean. I'll see you in a month, you know, when that scene pops up. But Otis is dealing drugs. He's like not really going to work. He's just kind of fucking off, you know, and it's like, he's just one of those pieces of shit where you're like, yeah, this guy is destined to go back because he's just too foolhardy to pull his head out of his ass and just stop being a dick, you know? And then all of a sudden, it's like you get a bad feeling. If you've never seen the movie, but you've seen documentaries about Henry Lee Lucas, just you've already got in your mind a picture of what type of person this guy is, right? So when Otis's sister starts talking about like, oh yeah, I got a little girl back home and everything, you're like, oh God, this is not going to end well. This is not good. Because they really built on that with that character. The fact that she had to come to the big city to get shit together. Like half-assed to escape a marriage that she never actually really wanted. And also just to get something going, like financially and everything else for her and her kid. So they really laid on, not, I wouldn't say thick, but they laid on there to remind you, here's this woman who's in the presence of these 2 motherfuckers. A, Henry, that we know is a killer, and then B, Otis, that became like just a homicidal killer. Not like, you know, later on he's like, well, I had to kill it was always in self-defense kind of deal, you know, and now he's like, I always had to kill to defend myself. This was just straight up murder. And it's like, what's the difference? You know, Henry says, like, what's the difference? You know, it's you or them, whatever. And so it's like, you got this innocent little person in this little apartment. Like you see that, you pretty much see the whole apartment. It's like when you're in Otis's room, you see that the kitchen is like right there. From the kitchen, you can see the living room. You know, you can see it's just it's a small apartment. It's a small space. So it's innocent in this fucking house with these two homicidal fucking maniacs. And then, you know, all of a sudden, like after those first murders, then it starts picking up with these two. You know, all of a sudden they're like, you know, Otis breaks the TV, need to go get a new TV. Did they go to the store and buy a TV? Of course not, that's too expensive. So they go to some fucking little shitty dude in a fucking like a U-Haul storage or something space, or just, you know, like just a storage room, the roll-up door and everything. He's got all these electronics. You can tell he's like black market motherfucker. And then they murder that guy. And that murder scene was pretty cool. I mean, first they're like he's getting stabbed with a soldering iron and then smashed on the head with the TV. And then they turn the TV on and just cook his head. But then and then because of that scene, that's when they take that camcorder, and it adds a whole nother aspect, which I love watching serial killer docs. You know, it's like they're entertaining to me in a way, just because they're fascinating, because these people are completely outside the norm. It's not just like, oh, I like putting on a big fuzzy animal costume and going to conventions or something weird. No, these are people that are they've gone past the fringe. These people are in the midst of us, and yet they are outside of everything. They are this singular little cancerous cell amoeba going through the structure of society. And they're just like killing off other little cells. You know, it's weird to me. I see it as a defect, much like Down syndrome or something is. People that are serial killers have a mental defect. I'm going to say that right now. I'm not going to glorify them. I'm not like, they're so cool. They weren't cool people. They were horrible people. What they did was fascinating, though. So getting into that, when they record that, first they record that murder with it, you know, and they're sitting there on the couch just watching it, replaying it, just like in the moment again, like how serial killers will relive that. And so I thought that was a neat aspect that they throw in there. It's like their trophy is that video, and Otis is just all about the shit. You know, he loves it. And some of the other little aspects that you could tell were probably I gotta watch it again with like, I'm gonna watch all the commentaries, all the other kind of shit, and watch all the special features. But the whole like necrophilia thing, I'm pretty sure that wasn't off limits. They've kind of played it like Henry like had some kind of ethical code, even if it was only like 2 things or something. You know, don't fuck your sister and don't fuck dead bodies. No, Henry Lee Lucas was a horrible person. So it's like that was definitely more of a dramatic thing, I think, for the movie. But you know, and just as it progresses from there, it's just, and this downer of a movie. Like the home invasion was like fucking crazy. That was crazy. And plus, since it's already done in a retro, it was done way back in the day, so it looks very retro. And then you got the retro VHS camcorder look going on the video. It just looks so gritty. There's something about it that just looks like and then as we go along, like what's another big focal point? Because there's something else I figure I want to talk about a little more before I talk about that ending. Because that ending, now that's a fucking ending that you go, oh damn, son. I would say one of the next big things is like, I don't know, Otis raping his sister and then getting murdered. I guess that's like the next big thing we could talk about. Because, oh no, let me jump back. Because one thing that actually parallels real life with the movie is when Henry is explaining to Otis, it doesn't matter how you kill people, just don't keep doing it with the same weapon or the same exact way, because then you don't get caught. because if you use the same gun, they're like, oh, we're looking for somebody that uses a 44 caliber, shit like that. So he's like, no, just use a different gun. You just mix it up, and then they don't have anything to really follow, and then there's just fucking dead people. That really paralleled real life right there. Some real stuff that was thrown in. It added some dramatic effect, but it was like real shit. Because watch a Henry Lee Lucas thing and you'll see. So now let's talk about that ending. So Otis, a motherfucker who cannot control himself at all. Once he gets like revved up, it's like he shuts it off. His mind shuts off, and it's pure, I wouldn't even say instinct, just animalistic bullshit. Like when he's like, yeah, I snapped this lady's neck, but she's still a lady, so maybe I can have a little fun still. How it's like the murder wasn't enough. He was ready to go straight to necrophilia with that home invasion lady. And then later on, it's like where it like his weird thing where he's like always hitting on his sister and shit. And then he's like straight up like he can't control himself, and he's like, ah! And so he goes and he's like raping his sister, and then Henry busts in, like he's already Henry already done told you once, man, you ain't supposed to do that. So the little fight. I love the fake head that gets stabbed in the fucking eye with the comb, the sharp end of the comb, the pointy end of the comb, and just like, ah! I mean, it's like they do it really quick, and it like, it looks like prosthetic fake, but it's a practical effect, and it's cool just because you can see I'm getting stabbed in there. They did a pretty good face of Tom Towles in that. That was pretty cool, and then just him getting shanked to death with the comb and everything. And then when Henry decides, well, I know what I got to do. I got to cut this motherfucker up, put him in some trash bags, and go dump him somewhere. Can't leave a body laying in here. People know I'm here, blah, 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 blah. And then, now here's the one thing that I don't know if I'm the only one that got this. So they go to the bridge. He opens the trunk. And he's like chucking Otis's body in the trash bags off the bridge, right? He throws 2 trash bags. I'm no math scientist, but I do believe that an entire grown man's body, human body, and especially like Tom Towles, what is he? Tom Towles he looked even taller than what's his fuck in the movie. I think he's right around maybe 6 foot or something like that. So like a 6 foot dude, grown ass man, is not going to fit into 2 little garbage bags, because you can see they weren't even like massively full. They were just like pieces in there. Which leads me to believe that there was pieces of Otis that they dumped in other places, not just off that bridge. Now that's just something subtle that maybe I caught, but I just like there had to have been more Otis in more places. That's what I'm thinking. Now let's get up to the ending here. We already know Henry cannot have a normal functioning relationship with anybody. Not just women, anybody. So for this chick to be like, oh yeah, I guess I'll go along with you. I love you. And what does he say? I guess I love you too. And just the way he says it even, it's like in his mind, he's already like, the gears are probably already going where he's like, he's probably maybe torn. Oh, what am I going to do? But he is like, yeah, I can't take this bitch with me. He's telling her stories. Oh, like even right up to the end. Oh, we'll go out to my sister's place and we'll send for your kid. Your kid will come out and we'll live happily ever after out in California and everything. His tone and everything, he doesn't mean a goddamn word he's saying. That I guess I love you. He doesn't love her at all. Maybe he like cares about her in some way, but that doesn't mean he's not going to fucking murder her. And like after, the next morning, after their fucking like their night in the hotel, when they're getting ready to get back on the road, you just look in the car, you don't see her head in that passenger seat. You don't see her in the car at all. And then when he dumps that fucking suitcase and there's blood on it. And what's so crazy, another aspect of the whole serial killer thing. Now here's this innocent thrust in to the same sphere as this homicidal, sociopathic, psychotic serial killer. What do those people do? The sociopathic, psychotic fucking serial killers. They are constantly ruining people's lives. They are constantly doing that. They are coming out of nowhere and in the gravest, most horrible way, becoming a part of people's lives. So what happens here? She's thrown in there with him. She's got this kid, she's got her mom, and all this stuff, and she is dead. That's it. He just ruined that child's life because her dad or stepdad is in fucking jail or prison. Her mom she's never seeing her mom again. Her mom is dead. That's it. He just absolutely ruined that little girl's life. And that's exactly what serial killers do in real life. They go, they can't control their urges, and they fucking murder someone, whether it's a grown man, a grown woman, a kid, whatever. They kill someone and they forever just fuck up other people's lives. And that is something that really hit me this time. I was like, dude, that's what serial killers do all the time. They meet people, or maybe they just attack them. I don't know. Let's say they meet someone and they envelop themselves in their life, and then they murder them and they take that person away and they just destroy the happiness of this family. Well, whatever level of happiness there is or whatever. But that was so on point that it's almost like, even though it's a fictional dealio, it is probably one of the most realistic aspects of the movie. Is it's that subconscious thing where it's when you start thinking about it at the end, the impact that motherfuckers like this have on the world and on families and people and everything. And it's like, whoa, that one act of murder, yeah, he killed all these people, but this one, it kind of got a little more personal with people, I would say, just because it gave her this backstory. It kept repeating, I got my kid, I talked to my kid on the phone, my kid, and then she's gone. And you're thinking dude, her fucking kid, man. Yeah, that ending is I think more brutal just for the fact that it didn't show a murder, a cut up body or anything else, and just blood on a suitcase and just the impact of, oh shit, yeah, we know she's in that suitcase and we know the impact of everything. And it's fucking harsh. This is a gritty, unrelenting fucking movie from start to finish. And I'm sure a bunch of the special features are the same that I have on the 2-disc DVD one I got. But I also know there's probably going to be many, many more. And so that's what I'm going to do next. I'm going to go watch all these special features and immerse myself into the film and get some more insight into the film. And it'll be nice to brush up on some of the probably special features I've already seen because it's been a minute. So I'm going to go do that, and then I'll come back, and then I'll talk about them, and then that'll be that. All right. So I'm going to go watch some special features. Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer. A big fucking bummer. A big downer of a movie. Oh my God, Henry. Oh my God. Alright, well, that was quite the special features, I tell you what. There was 3 commentaries. I watched all 3 commentaries and all the special features and everything, and it's okay, here's the thing with the commentaries. It's there are a lot of the same anecdotes and everything else, so it's it does get a little redundant and everything. But one thing I did do was there was 3 different commentaries. They all had John McNaughton, and there was like one from like the 90s, one from like mid 2000s, one in like very recent, right? And I just kind of like listened to it as it went along. Like I started at his very first one and worked towards a more recent, and it's kind of cool because you actually like hear how it's like it almost seems like he becomes a little more comfortable with the fact that Henry, like, people love this fucking movie, and it's very interesting. Just watching the regular interviews and making of and everything else is like really cool. It gives you some insight into like on the set and just like Michael Rooker, Tom Tolles. It's like these motherfuckers. They're like horror icons and shit like that. And it's like this is their first movie. They're just totally raw. They never did any other movies before this, you know? Just like stage acting and shit. So it's pretty fucking cool. And also just how Henry pushed the MPAA, and it's one of the movies that one of the movies that is the reason that is why that is having of us having NC-17 rating instead of X for movies like this, because you know, if you know movies and shit, certain movies, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, other movies would get an X rating if they were too like brutal and shit, and it'd get lumped in with porn, so it'd just totally fuck a movie over, you know, or get unrated and then not be able to be shown anywhere and blah blah blah, you know. So the NC-17 was still pretty harsh, but it set it in a different category, and Henry was, you know, a big proponent of that happening, which is kind of cool because it does kind of open the door a little more for shit and change some things. Actually, like, stood out and changed some things. So the special features were pretty cool, and I definitely like recommend it. It's like I said, the 3 commentaries are fairly similar, a lot of the same anecdotes and stuff, but it's still just cool to hear John McNaughton talk about his film, like, you know, through the course of decades, and just how it seems like he becomes more relaxed with it, you know? Like he was, like in the first commentaries, he's like, you know, people will come up to me and say like, oh, Henry this, Henry that. And it's like, dude, I've made other movies, you know, or it's almost, he's like, God damn, dude. It's like, I've done other shit, but it's like, everybody wants to talk about this movie, where he becomes more comfortable with the fact that he's like, I made something and I guess maybe it's better than I thought or something, or just to know that there are so many people that are fans of this film, you know, and it's just pretty cool. Like the interviews and stuff give good insight. So very awesome to dive deep into Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer, and this lovely Arrow set. So yeah, I signed your pity on the running kind pretty fucking adequately this time. And so yeah, and stay tuned after the credits. Yes, there's credits now. Stay tuned after the credits for a sneak peek at the next episode of Reviewedly Interrupted with me, your host, Pootie Tang. Pootie Tang. Okay. Signing off, the Tangster out, and yes, Henry. Down, 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 bing, dong, bing.